Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic.
Guys of Reddit, what is the hardest thing to explain to women? I don't always want to be the one that initiates sex. It makes me feel like a creep. Amen bro. It feels so good when they actually initiate sex. It feels good to be desired. I remember going over my FWB house and before I could get the door closed behind me she had me up against the wall. She said, at the time, that it was probably the best sex she's had in her life. I told her to thank herself, tears of joy. That just because I'm quiet in your presence doesn't mean I'm upset. Just means I'm either tired, don't have anything to say, or I'm thinking about something. Or as established in the rest of the comments, it could also mean you're thinking about nothing. Or I'm just fine, would you give me a Pepsi? That sometimes we need personal space and it has nothing to do with our opinion of you. When I get home from work, I've been talking to people for 8 hours straight. I just want time to decompress, let my brain do nothing. My partner has been on her own all day and she's desperate for someone to talk to. It causes real problems. I have this problem with my partner. Then when I do build myself up to ask for an afternoon to myself, they manage to fall into this depressive spiral while I'm doing my own thing. They insist that it isn't my fault and it isn't my problem. But in a way, yes, it is on both counts, and I still have to navigate them out of the spiral after the fact, so it functions like a punishment every time I decide I want to do something by myself. But they're disabled and can't get out on their own, so it's not like I don't understand. But it's damn hard. If something we say can be taken one of two ways, and one of them upsets you, it's not that one. The fact that you knew about the two ways shows you thought about it and that's how you really feel about me, thanks. Sometimes we don't realize it can be heard two ways. We only know what we were trying to say and the words we used. We only knew there was ambiguity when the words fell out of our mouth and we found our foot in there. I like to be touched too. Put your arms around me, play with my hands, rub your hands on my body. Don't just sit there and get rubbed like some regal cat. My last partner took me months before he would let me rub his feet, and he has bad feet that were always sore, nice and clean though. It was like one of those people trying to help an injured stray dog. I had to gain his trust, not look right at him, then bam, foot massage. After chatting with one of my friends for 10 minutes on the phone, we really were talking only about his car. No, I don't know if his GF is in town. No, I don't know if his mom is fine, or if she is alive. I have no idea if his job is good or bad. No, I didn't ask that. Why TF would I ask that? I only know a little more about his car, and that's really it. Quote, my mom asks me that like, oh, so how's his school, work going? Dog IDK, we were just chillin'. OMG, my mom when I meet someone new will ask where they work, who their parents are, where they live, and on and on and on, and I'm like, mom, I literally don't care about most of those things, that is too much information. Like stalker level lol, she's just very social, Snoopy. I have an annual trip with the same 5 other dudes that have been going for 23 years now. We all live in different cities, and every year we meet up for a long weekend. I know most of their wives' names, I know how many kids some of them have, and I know some of the kids' approximate ages. But I don't know all that information for all 5 guys. I couldn't tell you what Paul does for a living, something with software development, I think. Rory has 2 kids, definitely a son, but maybe a daughter. My wife is baffled by this. It simply doesn't come up. We talk about video games, beer, the pasta sauce John makes each year, etc. Important stuff, you know. Wife, Paul's wife just had another baby, what's the baby's name? Did he say the baby's weight and length? Was it early or late, planned or unplanned? Did Paula get an epidural like she wanted? Me, no, I'm sorry honey, I didn't know Paul had another baby. He didn't mention anything about it. Quote, I'm not judging this at all, but I've found it's a really interesting dynamic amongst men in my life. To me, a woman, they'll talk about the male loneliness epidemic, the way men's mental health is ignored, etc. All entirely valid and things I do think we need to address. Men I know are often struggling and they don't have the same sort of communities around them that women build. And I don't think that's a fault of men, but I do think a lot of it is about how women are socialized to be friends and how men are socialized to be stoic. The commenters below yours mention that they don't even know the name of their friends' wives, if their mom is alive, or how their newborn is doing, and that almost definitely goes both ways in the friendship dynamic. They don't know about their friends and their friends don't know about them. Of course they're lonely. It seems like the minutiae, and one comment below said it feels disrespectful to ask about things like their relationship, etc. But like, an investment in knowing another human and being known by them is how you build emotional connection. And that's how you combat loneliness. So many men I know want to be known, but they don't seem to know how to organically create that. Again, this is said with zero judgment. There's so much that goes into all of this. I just think it's interesting to observe in my own life and also see it written out in many of the comments below yours. I read it a little differently. The guys who have annual hiking trips with their buddies or who call their friends every Sunday to talk about the cars likely aren't the ones complaining about male loneliness. Sure, they may not know a lot about their friends' lives, and vice versa, but they still have a community and are getting emotional support from their friends in different ways. There's some truth to the story of how guys might comfort the best friend after a major loss by simply showing up to their house with a six-pack of beer and drinking in silence. I agree with you, though, that guys are socialized differently and it makes it harder for us to build communities or deeper relationships that we find fulfilling. On the rare occasion where we fail to get hard during sex, that doesn't mean we're not into you or turned on by you. Sometimes we just have a lot going on in our head and feeling stressed. There's a whole bunch of things that can cause temporary being tired, being depressed, stress, performance anxiety, dehydration, prescription drugs, non-prescription drugs, age. My last GF waited until I was half asleep at night before trying to jump my bones. No, we had all evening for that. Now I'm way too tired and thinking about how early I have to be awake in the AM. This kills the boner, but I will still lick every inch of your body to make sure you know how much I want you. This is the key. It's happened to me many times where I've been fooling around with a guy. We both very much want to bang. He doesn't get an erection and proceeds to act like that's it, that's the end, sorry, nothing we can do now, better call it a night. And truthfully, the real secret here is he will often get an erection once he gets his mind off of his own dick and focuses on other activities for a moment. Also, if I can't finish, sometimes I just need a break and some water. Like, I fucked her while standing and holding up her full body weight, then she asked me to go as hard as I possibly can for a while. After she orgasms, I might need a breather and some water. My tool is numb and my body is tired, just be patient. The mind is willing and able, but the flesh is spongy and bruised. No, we don't need more firewood, but I like chopping things. I can hang out with my friends for hours and not get an update on their love life. They didn't offer the information and I frankly don't care. Everyone laughing till that blizzard hits and every smidgen of wood for miles around is saturated with melted snowfall. No, I don't know how to fix everything, I just have an inherent understanding of how things physically interact and my monkey brain is good at workarounds. I'm no genius, I was just left alone a lot as a kid. In a similar vein, that I'm just willing to look stuff up. I don't have some inherent knowledge of how to patch drywall, I needed to look that shit up, fail at it a bit, and eventually get it right. I don't want to have to do every minor repair or install that has to happen because, you know how to do house stuff. It doesn't take so much as a high school diploma to install a curtain rod, mostly it just takes a small amount of wool and the instructions in the package. I feel this in a similar way. Somehow everyone I know thinks that I am some sort of tech wizard who can fix their tech problems by snipping my fingers. Yeah, I do know a thing or two about computers, but most of the time I'll either guess based on what I know does what in a PC or Google the problem. Especially when it's Apple, which I have no idea about. Why is nobody able to just Google their problems? Sometimes an erection just happens. We don't control the thing, it's a physical response that could literally be from nothing. On the opposite side of that coin, sometimes erections just don't happen. We don't control the thing. This is why it's beneficial for boys and girls to have the same class about puberty. Normally, each gender just learns a tiny bit about what happens to themselves. I think girls should learn about erections, hopefully the knowledge will cause less bullying about erections and boys will be less ashamed of it, and boys should learn about periods. Just my opinion, though. Our sex ed classes were always mixed gender, and that was in the 1980s. We can be thinking about nothing. This one is interesting to me. I'm a man, and I am never thinking about nothing. I'm as clueless as the ladies on this. It's similar to a flow state but not the same. You're just there but generally not taking any form of action. With flow state the action feels second nature, and oftentimes in flow state the mind is empty, free and open to observing favorable outcomes but without expectation, force. Immersed fully in present tense. I can't tell you how many times I've driven full speed in video games, not even thinking, weaving in and out of traffic like I was Anakin Skywalker, or just cruised on my skateboard at a skate park and performed crazy lines, and it just felt like an extension of my body with absolutely nothing happening upstairs. It's a pleasurable place to exist. Leave us be in our nothing boxes. We feel just as much and as deeply as women. Our emotional life is as complex and intense as most women's. We just tend to keep it to ourselves. Emotional gender differences exist but they're way overblown. I wish my friend could understand this. She's 39 and always looking for a man, even though she's very pretty and child-free. She genuinely thinks men don't have feelings and really won't listen when I or others say anything to the contrary. She also thinks men all only want to feel needed versus wanted. I wish I could snap her out of it so bad. Sounds like the kind of woman who has never once though. Is he happy? Sounds like she needs to stop looking for a man and start facing herself. Yes, I enjoy physical touch more so than any other love language. No, that doesn't mean only sex all the time. There are many ways to satisfactorily facilitate physical touch. Yes, it can mean sex sometimes, if we're both feeling it in the moment. Sometimes I just want her to rub my shoulders affectionately. Sometimes I want to rub her shoulders and not mean anything else by it besides, I love you. Sometimes I want to cuddle in bed and fall asleep in her arms, and yes, sometimes I want to fall asleep inside her after a satisfying romp. Sometimes I just want to hold her hand. Sometimes I want a hug. Sometimes I think she needs a hug and wish she would just relax and accept the love for what it is. It sucks being divorced.